Dr. Antonella Fogliata, you are a very busy medical physicist and working on many projects. Also, for this reason, I am incredibly happy that you took the time to do a little interview with us for the Dosimetry School podcast. As I know you have measured incredibly much with the PTW water phantom of the MP3 generation. Likewise, the Semiflex 0.125 cubic centimeters has always been your hobby horse.
Indeed, thank you, Tino. I started very long time ago. We can now speak about decades, indeed. And I started using the MP3 water phantom and a couple of Semiflex 0125 ion chambers. And I approached my knowledge to the dosimetry, indeed, with this equipment. And probably this is the reason why I've been in love, I normally say, with the Semiflex 0125, probably because I was growing with her or with it, probably with her. Semiflex indeed has been for a long time an almost ideal chamber size for the majority of the measurement of for a Linac. It's a standard, it is an ion chamber, so it is a great detector. And then with a radius of 275 millimeters, this is small enough for all the profiles and depth of curves, as well as the output factor for standard field sizes. And it is also large enough to be stable and with a low noise. So in principle, the Semiflex 0125 was an almost ideal ion chamber. The only point was to properly position the detector for each measurement to have the best condition. I mean, vertical versus horizontal positioning, scan perpendicularly to the chamber stem, and so on. Anyway, today, all has been moved forward to an easy setting with the BEAMSCAN, with the Semiflex 3D, and the BEAMSCAN with the auto setup, and the Semiflex 3D, it is the new Semiflex, which is a chamber keeping all the beauties of my lovely Semiflex, also with a smaller volume, 0.07 cubic centimeter, that is about half of the 0125 of the old Semiflex. However, the new approach of the 3D concept of this new Semiflex is a great advantage, where we can put the detector in whichever direction, keeping the detector size the same, whatever we want to do. And this was presenting an important advantage in using the lovely Semiflex.
All right. Anton, what makes a good water phantom for you? What characteristics should it have?
Well, what I understood in my professional life is that we have to evolve with the technology. Technology that is not only the Linac, it is also the dosimetry system. And what was important in the past maybe is not anymore so important, or not anymore the key point today. In the past, indeed, I was thinking a crucial point, the possibility to properly visualize what we do in terms of detector positioning, the phantom setting. And indeed, I remember when I saw the BEAMSCAN the first time, I was a bit surprised to see the large basement with the reservoir. Say, I'm not a tall person, I can say I'm quite short, and I was scared about the possibility to properly visualize the detector. But today, I think it is not anymore the key point, and I totally understood the reason. Today, we have more to rely on the overall accuracy, the reliability, the stability of the instrument on two sides, both from the mechanical viewpoint and the software viewpoint. And I'm mentioning the software because I'm thinking about the coordinate system and the origin setting with the auto setup feature of the BEAMSCAN. That is working the following. Once we set the water level, the water phantom, the water level is automatically detected, and the scanning directions are determined automatically by a transformation of the mechanical coordinate system into the water-aligned system of coordinates that is parallel and perpendicular to the water surface level. This allows the motion to be perfectly according to the only thing we cannot change, that is the water surface plane. And everything is done via software. That's why it is not only the mechanics that has to be well done, but also software-wise has to be accurate. And the detector positioning is something that has to be accurate. And probably today, more than yesterday, because everyone is speaking about a small field dosimetry. And we know that it is a difficult task and it is full of hurdles. So the accuracy in the positioning of the detector in this frame, in this part of the dosimetry is quite crucial. So regarding the phantom characteristics, we don't have to forget one extra point, that is the time. We always don't have too much time to spend at the Linac. And we don't have to spend all that time in properly setting the phantom. So probably we have to spend better this time to properly measure without losing the time in finding the proper positioning, the detector, if it is in the correct way. So this is something that it is better done today automatically. So to summarize, which are the most important characteristics today of the water phantom, I would say stability, reliability, the accuracy, both mechanical and software, and an easy and fast setting.
Antonella, in the beginning you were very skeptical about the automatic functions during the setup. Were you able to dispel these doubts during your measurements with the BEAMSCAN system?
The reason of my skepticism is that I'm a physicist. And especially in the field of the medical physics, we have to be accurate in all what we do, especially regarding the Linac commissioning phase. We have to remember that we have the responsibility of the beam, which is something that is going to be used to treat all the patients in the department. And the big error of the physicist might impact all the patients treated on that machine, on that beam. So said that, it is, I think, natural for a physicist to evaluate, to check everything is new before starting to use it in the clinical setting, be it a machine, be it a dosimetry system. So in that sense, I was skeptical. Or we can reward a little bit. We can say positively critical. Positively critical in a sense of highlighting the possible criticalities in a positive way, allowing in that way to enforce the good features, or maybe to correct if there is anything that is not fully convincing. And indeed, the auto setup with the BEAMSCAN was, to my eyes, something new and something that deserved some check. So when I approached the BEAMSCAN the first time, I did my checks. So I firstly tried to understand, check all the functionalities, and finally I was able to clarify all my doubts, allowing me to fully use today the auto setup function, especially with no doubts and in full safety. So today, honestly, I can say that it is a very great function. Also, initially, I have to admit, I was a bit skeptical, or better say, positively critical.
This sounds good. You told me that you have recently done a commissioning of linear accelerators with the BEAMSCAN system. Is this correct?
Yes, it has been in February this year, when I did the commissioning of a variant through beam at the Humanitas hospital in Milano. This machine is equipped with 4 photon beams, 6 and 10 MV, 6 and 10 FFF MV, and the full commissioning was done with the BEAMSCAN, measuring very fastly all what was needed for the TPS configuration algorithms, plus a set of data, a comprehensive set of data to have a complete view and knowledge of all the 4 beams. We added also a set of measurements on small fields, of course, and we were using the lovely 3D semiflex for the full set of standard beams and the micro diamond for the small fields. And it was a nice experience, definitely.
Good to hear. You know all our and maybe other water phantoms very well. As a seasoned practitioner, where do you see the greatest advantages of the BEAMSCAN over previous or other water phantoms you have worked with? What has improved for you since you started using the BEAMSCAN?
Oh, the February commissioning has been really a fantastic experience with the BEAMSCAN. It was indeed the first commissioning I was doing with this water phantom, while all my previous commissioning were with the MP3. It was also the opportunity for me to evaluate the performance of the system, also comparing BEAMSCAN versus the MP3 functions. So which are the most important improvements of the BEAMSCAN? And I would put on top, on the top list, the auto setup function. Say, you said before that I was skeptical at the beginning, that's true, but now you see I'm putting as a first top beauty. With the auto setup function, I didn't have to spend too much time in setting the phantom, in setting the detector, in aligning everything, because practically, honestly, there is nothing to do. Say, once I checked and I was happy, I had really nothing to do. Everything is done by the system. I had just to put the phantom under the beam, roughly according to the alignment markers and the lines, the white lines. And all the coordinates were automatically correctly aligned to the beam. So the full coordinate system, the beam center, the rotation collimator adjustment, everything was automatically done in a very fast and quick way. An interesting feature related to the auto setup is the water level check. That is a feature that after 2 hours of measurements without changing the setup, the system automatically alerts you that, hey guy, 2 hours are past, please check the water level. And at that point, you can just ask the system to automatically refill the water tank if you want to the correct level. This is just a button to push, even without entering in the bunker, while this was a critical point, the water evaporation during a day of measurements was deteriorating a bit the quality of some measurements. So this is a small but very interesting point. And then a second improvement was the continuous scan. This option was not available in the MP3, where there was only the step-by-step option available. And now with the BEAMSCAN, also the continuous is indeed possible. This process is speeding up quite nicely the acquisition, especially for the large field profiles. And just to say, I checked also this point, of course, my QA mind moved me to check also this point by point versus continuous, just to be sure that there were no hysteresis and everything was perfect. So I used a lot the continuous scan. And then as a last point, also the true fix concept. This is not new, since the concept comes from the MP3, so it is not an improvement in that sense, but it is definitely something that is crucial. It is a must, an interesting key point of the wool dosimetry system. The TrueFix is a set of holders and thimbles with a specific combination of holder and thimble for each detector. And this allows the system to position the zero coordinates to a universal zero. And then you can change the detector without changing the system of coordinates. So the coordinate system is independent from the detector. This is an important point. And attached to that, since the position of the chamber is according to the mechanic, say the mutual position of the water level, anyway, being a software behind, it is now possible with the BEAMSCAN also to automatically adjust the effective point of measurement according to the DIN, the IAEA protocols, and or whatever we want to use. And this is an extra point that was an advantage with respect to the previous MP3.
Yes. One advantage you mentioned is the time saving in setup and measurement. How much time do you save compared to before?
Oh, this is an hard question. Let's consider the setup first. Sometimes the manual setup takes longer than foreseen because there are something not predictable. It is a trial and error procedure, and the positioning is not always in the same way, and something might happen. So let's say that to have a good manual setup, this might take some 30-40 minutes or even more, depends. With the auto setup of the BEAMSCAN, it's a matter of 10 minutes maximum, even less. This is probably one of the major time saving. A second time saving is the continuous scan for large fields, especially for the profiles. This is definitely another point where we can save time that is quite important. See, I don't want to really quantify the spare time, but just let me summarize my experience with the commissioning with the BEAMSCAN. I can tell you that we were able to commission the 4 beams in commission, I mean the measurement part of the machine, in 5 working days. And working day, I mean a normal working day, 8-9 hours, not exaggerate number of hours. The machine was a true beam with 4 beam energies, open beams, no hard wedges, of course, but we were also measuring some dynamic wedges for 1 energy. The commissioning including, as I told you, not only the TPS configuration algorithm measurements, but also additional measurements to have a complete view of the beam, and also small field measurements with the microdiamond. So oversimplifying, it was 1 day per energy plus 1 day for the small fields. And this was possible only thanks to 2 factors. On one side, I have to admit it that we were very well prepared before starting the commissioning. There was no time lost in the measurement sessions. So this was something that was coming from the practice, or good practice, I hope. But on the other side, once we were efficient on what we can, BEAMSCAN was doing a lot. And I have to admit that we would not have been able to be so efficient without this dosimetric system. So BEAMSCAN allowed us to be so fast and so effective in this commissioning phase.
These are very nice information. Thank you very much. If a colleague would ask you for a water phantom, would you recommend the BEAMSCAN? And if yes, why?
Definitely yes, I would definitely recommend the BEAMSCAN, and the reason are all the good reasons I just told you in this interview. The high accuracy, the reliability of the whole system, and the very, very efficient setting. I would say it is a great dosimetry system, and I would strongly recommend it.
Thank you very much, Antonella, for this great interview. I am really looking forward to our next Dosimetry School 2022 classroom course with you in Milan.
Thank you, Tino. I hope to see you soon in Milano. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.